42.
Push this button here.
Please.
Yeah. Nice picture of the Garmin.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Tackle Shop Live. On this edition, the Cruz missile, John Cruz, in the house. We are going to be talking everything missile, everything fishing, maybe some shad spawn, maybe some swim jigs. Who knows? It's going to be an exciting show. Thank you, everybody, for stopping in. This is Tackle Shop Live. Russ Downey, how you doing, buddy? Mike Hayer. Hey, Mike. What's happening? Keith Howard, how you doing? Richie Hall. What's up, Richie? I bet you're dying to get on the river. I know you, buddy. This weather's driving everybody crazy. Keith Howard's probably like stuck on the ceiling somewhere with his fingers and toes. He's so wound up, ready to go. I know that. I know that. Jeff Brubaker, how you doing, buddy? Michael McCabe, how's everybody? Man, thanks a lot, everybody, for stopping in. Andy Garrett, how are you? Man, we got a great show for you guys. As I mentioned, John Cruz is in the house. We've been talking with John for years, trying to get him on our show. And just always been bouncing around, not always being able to get him on. But now we got him, so...
Too busy.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
He's running the Missile Baits Empire.
Yeah, he's got that going on. And he's got his tournament career that he's out there whacking all these fish. And it's going to be exciting to talk to him. We're going to pick his brain clean tonight. We're going to get all kinds of great information from him, and he's a great guy for that. He doesn't hold anything back. So I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting show. A couple announcements. Jeff Riddle, how you doing? Kevin Carpenter. Lisa Lake Fishing Club's in the house. What's up, SFT? Yeah, buddy. How are you? Larry Shope. Dale Fogel. What's up, Dale? Jeff Gorecki. How are things with you, pal? Mike Barr. Man, as always, thanks a lot, guys, for stopping in.
Absolutely.
Well, tonight is the eve of the registration for SummerSlam tournament, the SFT tackle tournament that everybody's looking forward to down on the upper Chesapeake Bay. That is May the 15th. So that is coming up real quick. The registration begins tonight at midnight. You guys can register online, or you can register. You can make your purchases online, or you can purchase in the shop. Now, for you guys who don't know, our tournament is not a tournament where you have to pay money in cash. It is a buy-in program, so you're going to get something for your cash. Everybody wins in this tournament, so it's really cool. It's sponsored by Shimano, G. Loomis, Jackal, and Power Pro, and for that, you have to buy those products in a value of $250, and that's your entry fee for the tournament.
Per team.
Per team, not per person, per team. So it's a great value for everybody. Everybody's a winner in this tournament. So exciting, so awesome. That is, this buy-in starts tonight at midnight, and it runs all the way through May 14th, the night before the tournament. And all you have to do is get online, download an application, fill it out completely, send it in to us along with an order, or stop in the shop here. And you can do it right here in the shop. We'll have applications here. That'll get you guys signed up.
Yeah.
So you don't want to
big doings, man.
Yeah, and this year,
Chesapeake Bay, May the 15th.
I know it's going to be a slugfest.
My God, we're going to have to get like high school kids there to
carry
the bags up to the scales.
It's absolutely going to be a slugfest. The only thing this year is that the purchases are all in stock only items, Nick, because getting tackles so hard right now. And last year we had a few guys that just couldn't get their stuff, and we had to switch out, and it was just a nightmare. So we decided to do just in stock only stuff. Now we have a lot of stuff, Nick.
We do.
Oh, you guys are loaded.
We have a lot of stuff in those product lines, and so we're not going to run out too quick. But you guys just make sure you order in stock products to make that happen.
And you know what, guys? There's no better buy-in that I've ever seen in a tournament, so that's pretty cool.
No, that's right. There's nobody. Well, there's a few people who are doing it now, but they took our lead on that, and it's spreading across the country. And there's a few companies, which is good. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The more people we can get at tournament fishing, and the more people we can have with a positive outcome.
Trendsetters.
Yeah,
we're trendsetters.
That's right, George.
We're setting trends.
Yeah. So get on there, read the rules, read everything up, and then if you have any questions, you call shop here, and we'll get you registered for that. So that's a pretty cool thing. That's coming up. I think that's all I'm not going to say any more about anything because we have a special guest.
We had enough with announcements.
We have a special guest, and I'm going to bring him on right now. This is the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you so much. The cruise missile, John Cruz.
Yeah.
What's up, dudes?
Yo, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
You're out in the air, huh?
I am. It's a beautiful day down here in Virginia. And I said, you know what? The kids are scattered all over the house. I'm going to go out on the deck, get some fresh air, get a little sunlight before it goes down. And we'll talk some fishing out here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. We had like 80 degrees up here today, and I was stripping down to t-shirt, fighting weight stuff. And then all of a sudden this massive front comes through like it always does.
I mean, it came through hard,
and it absolutely chilled off. It's nice and chilly. It's not chilly, but it's like cool. Right there. We got to put my sweatshirt back on, and it's actually beautiful outside now. The winds through, the storms are through. So things are going good. It's coming your way, bro. We're sending it down.
Great,
we're sending it down to you.
Yeah, no. We reject it. We reject it.
So it is absolutely great to have you. I know we've been trying to get you to come to the show here at our store. We tried to get you to do this and that, and it seems like you're just so busy with everything that you do, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. But we finally we got our lines together now. And it is so great to have you on because me and George are big fans of the cruise missile.
We are.
Well, I appreciate it. You guys have been great to me over the years, and we've been friends since before we even had anything to do with the missile stuff. So it's cool to be on here and to be able to help you out. And I love talking fishing. I love helping other people catch more fish. I enjoy both of those things, and that's hopefully we can do a lot of that tonight.
Yeah, you do. You definitely put your money where your mouth is, because I mean you're shooting more videos than I don't know anybody. I mean every time I look up, it's a 30-minute, 29-minute, 28.7 minute. I mean,
I keep my man Miles
just
busy.
Do you, bro? Do you?
Yeah, I keep him busy on the editing, but it's the days and times we live in nowadays. You got to be able to create the content.
It is
to educate the people, and then if you educate them on what you use and why you use it, they're going to go to it. So it's real easy to talk about the things that you use, especially when you design the majority of the stuff that you fish with.
Yeah.
And then, other than that, you get to, I'm very lucky. I get to fish with, like Sunline. I think it's the best line out there, period. I was buying it before I ever had any relationship with them. So, I feel the same way about Bass Cat. Like, I think that boat and the motor that I run, if I wasn't fishing on tour, that's what I would go buy. I would go buy the same thing that I run now. So, that kind of stuff, it's nice to have that kind of confidence in your equipment.
Well, look at your trend-setting ways on your electronics package. I mean, you're other than me, you're the only other angler running. Oh, I'm actually sponsored by all three brands, but I mean, you're running all three brands.
Yeah, I'm running them all. That's called the expensive way. If you're
it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Expensive way to do it. And guys that want the best of everything, that's what they're doing currently. But it won't take too long, and then I think all the companies are going to have comparable technology so that you don't have to do that. I think in maybe 3 years time, Lowrance is really only lacking a 360 type device and a little bit better mapping, which they're desperately working on their mapping, and their mapping is improving, but it's not quite to Lake Master yet. So so they're getting there. I think Lowrance is getting there as far as like one brand that has most everything. Garmin's definitely improving all angles. They're improving their mapping. They're improving you know, their side imaging. So it's just fun to watch all of the technology involved with the electronics.
It is, and you know, obviously Garmin, you know, pioneered this whole forward seeking sonar, which it's kind of interesting. The last two major tournaments we watched, it really had no bearing.
No.
You know, we just finished up watching the heavy hitters tournament today, and I mean,
yeah, they're flipping bushes and shit.
Yeah, you could have pretty much turned your graphs off, and the tournament before that, which I think was a BASS event.
Yeah, it's Chickamauga.
Chickamauga, the forward seeking wasn't a big player. It was up on the bank in the dirt kind of a thing, and
it was.
So I mean, you know, it's for that big long run of forward looking and people who are not familiar with it feeling like it's an unfair advantage. Well, it's not. But I guess where I was going before I just drifted off into like
La La Land.
Totally lost my train of thought.
Let me get my cattle prod
so
out
Garmin,
here.
you know, Garmin started it.
Yep.
And the 32 transducer, which is the current transducer, is pretty darn good.
Yep.
We usually run it on this baby right here, the Acamap Ultra. And it's pretty good picture. But you know, in what, a year, Lowrance has already come up strong with their forward looking, and Hummingbird's not too, you know, arguably not too.
Active Target it took them a few software updates to get it really dialed in, but they've got it dialed in now. And I was just talking with I guess he probably wouldn't care if I said I was just talking with Justin Russell Marine Products a couple of days ago about the new Garmin transducer, and he was asking me if I had run it yet, and I said no, but I told Garmin I want one as soon as they're available to purchase, because I have to purchase that stuff. And they said, okay, we'll get you one as soon as we can. And Justin was telling me that it's a noticeable improvement, but it's not like a light years difference or anything. He said, but it's definitely a noticeable improvement. And I mean, he's as good as anybody to ask, because that's kind of his forte, is rigging boats and staying on top of the latest electronics. So that was his quick take on it.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, we haven't run it yet either. We've been running the 32 hard, and I mean, when you're in clean water and you're in a really good situation and your unit's dialed in, there's not a whole lot left to see. So
well,
it's going to be interesting to see what this 34 does.
One of the people at Garmin off the record told me he's had like 2 days with it, and he said what you can see out to about 40 to 50 feet, that clean is now an additional 20 to 30 feet.
Okay,
and that's basically the difference.
And that would be something, you'd have to run it to see that. Because when we get out to like 50 foot, we're kind of like out.
Yeah, 50 to 70, you can still see, but it gets fuzzy. He said that clears up significantly, and then it gets fuzzy from like 70 to 90.
How frustrating was it for you to learn that? You pick it up pretty quickly.
Programmed to I fished for so long without it. A lot of what I did when I first got it last year, I mean, I just looked at it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, and then I just fish. You know, I didn't really like stare at it. I didn't really kind of get dedicated to it. You know, as the year went on, I found myself using it much more as a way to find the cover underwater that I wanted to throw at. Like I'd look at my 360 and I'd go, man, there's something out there kind of in no man's land, and you scan over, like, ooh, it's right there, and then you can make one cast, and you're like, ooh, damn, that feels like a stump. That's what it was. Or you throw out there and you go, ooh, that's rocky, and you can see depth changes really well with that forward facing sonar, whichever one, but you can't see bottom composition differences. That's where the 360 is such a player, because you can see a little isolated rock pile and it glows. But if you're scanning around with forward facing sonar, you can't really see that rock pile as well.
Right.
So man, the two just complement each other so well.
They do. And you know, a lot of our fishing that we do is river fishing, and a lot of those fish in this time of the year are glued on the bottom. So it's really hard to see fish with the forward, but we use it all the time for pinpointing a rock or something. I mean,
I'll tell you the one,
you don't know what it is till you hit it.
Real quick on the electronics thing, I have found that with the Lowrance, you can see separation. Like if a fish is a couple inches off the bottom, you can actually see that separation better on the Lowrance than you can with the Garmin. But if the fish are dead on the bottom, you can see them. You can actually still see those fish on the Garmin if you know what you're looking at. There'll be little hot spots on the bottom, and if you don't know what you're looking at, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
But you can't see that on the Lowrance because it's too much of a 2D situation. So that's where I really like the Garmin over the Lowrance on some things. It's just something fun to point out if people you know, are using it and trying to get better with it. Maybe that'll help them.
Absolutely. I mean,
Fantastic.
we you know, we don't get the time on the water like you get on the water, but so it takes us a little longer, and that was our biggest thing is really, and I think right now is our biggest thing is the bottom couple inches, trying to figure out what we're looking at and trying to see stuff right on the bottom. But you know, we just like you said, what we were using it for, and we actually had some good success in a couple of tournaments down there, was 360 finding the structure, and then using the Garmin to really just pinpoint it.
Yep.
And then fish that structure, and it was amazing catching fish off a structure that you found with that thing, and be able to make one cast and hit it every time.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize when they're like, "Oh, it's cheating," blah blah blah. Dude, Bass makes it to where we can't get any information. I guess MLF has the same rules, or I don't really 100% know, but we in the general, most of the pro tournaments, we can't get information, and we're going to these places that we either have been to once or twice, or that we've never been to. And we're supposed to find the best cover and the best structure and catch all these fish, and you're supposed to do it naturally with your eyes closed. No, I mean, I'm going to this point that I've never fished before. If I have the electronics, I can fish it as well as people that have fished it a bunch of times, because I can look at it and go like, well, here's going to be the sweet spots right here, here, and here, and then I can fish them and then move on, rather than taking years to figure out where those kind of places are. Or idling over it 15 times and trying to find it just makes you much more efficient at going to new places and catching fish. And a lot of people, I feel like that a lot of people that work a regular job for a living, they don't have 3-4 days to go practice before they fish a tournament or just to go fun fish. So these electronics can help them put their lure in a higher percentage area and catch more fish. I mean, that's the whole purpose.
Yeah. So
that sums it up.
Absolutely. So speaking of missile, what was was it something you always wanted to do, was start a plastics company? Because it's such a crowded field. Was it something,
plastics company or a jig company?
That's true. Yeah. I mean, you know, a bait company, it's so you know,
we are
so
a soft plastics company, and we're a soft plastics and soft plastics accessory, which is what a jig is. Because look, what are you going to put this on? You're going to put it on a jig. So you need a plastic to put on a jig. So
So how long were you thinking of doing something like that? Was it like, well, you know, there's nothing that I really like. I think I can do this better. I want this.
Yeah, early on in my career, within the first couple of years, you know, people were saying, you know, you're going to be, you know, a full-time fisherman. I said, no, the tournaments are going to open the door for me into some business opportunity so that it'll complement what I'm doing. And that's kind of what I saw early on. I saw what Jimmy Houston was doing, Roland Martin, Hank Parker. I saw that they used the tournaments, even Bill Dance, they used the tournaments to launch their TV career. And they made a business out of their TV career. Jimmy Houston went on to, you know, put his name on boat dealerships and all kind of other stuff outside of even the TV stuff. But it all worked together for him. And I was like, that's kind of the way that I think I want to go. Well, after about a year or so of fishing a full time and being on TV a couple times, I realized I don't think TV is where I want to go. Like, I just didn't feel like that's the direction I wanted to go. And so then, I just kind of was trying to figure out what other avenue I wanted to take hold. And, working for various companies and going to ICAST I've been going to ICAST every year since 2000, except for the 1 year that Bassmaster scheduled a tournament during ICAST, which was
Yeah,
that was bad.
Moron move.
That was bad.
Anyway, it's the only year I've gone since 2000. So going to that and kind of like just getting into the industry and learning about more of the business side of it and that kind of stuff. I started designing baits for Spro 15 years ago and really fell in love with the design, prototype, getting that bait just right, and then promoting it out on the market and, educating people on how to use it and what the bait is actually for and why it's different and why you designed it the way you did. I loved that whole process. So after about 5 or 6 years, I found myself without a soft plastic sponsor. And I said, man, I really want to do this on the soft plastic side. And it took me a couple years of planning to, figure out a business plan. And, I was looking for partners, and none of the partners that I wanted to go into business with really, it didn't work. So I ended up doing it by myself. I'm glad I did it by myself because it's a whole lot easier to change directions of a company if you're doing it by yourself. So I just went ahead and did it. And I've just been kind of mirroring what I've been doing for Spro for 15 years. So now for 10 years, we've been doing that with missile baits and just designing baits, promoting them, and then talking about them and telling why they're different and why we designed them the way we did and that kind of stuff. It's so I just enjoy that whole process. And
Cool.
I found out real quick after I started missile baits, if you think you really know about something, start a business in it, and then you'll find out how little you actually knew.
Yeah.
And so that was exactly what happened with missile. But luckily, the tournament side and fishing the Bassmaster Elite Series and making classics and that kind of stuff, it paid huge dividends to open doors. And then a lot of people that were friends and the people that I had met over the years at the ICAST show and other places and other sponsors that I had worked with, they helped me out tremendously. Just, calling people and asking them about margins and this and that and the other. It really helped out a lot to be able to set our business structure up properly from the get-go, from the beginning, not, setting up your price structure all wrong. So it's been a learning experience and been a lot of fun at the same time.
Is this your 10th year you're celebrating this year?
That's right. It's our 10th anniversary. That's what I've got my hat on, the 10th anniversary hat. I think we actually just sold out of them the other day.
Well, that's pretty cool. I know as a retailer, I know we've been with you since day one. And
day one, yep. You were one of the original 5, I think.
Yeah,
George.
we came in early, and right now
Yep.
I'm looking down the aisle here, and I'm looking at about 60 square foot of plastics and about 24 square foot of jigs.
Yes.
So take it easy this year at ICAST because I don't really want to have to put another wing wall in back there. You know what I'm saying?
We're running out of room here in our shop.
And by the way,
we may not
cheers,
make it to
you,
ICAST,
buddy.
George. We may not make it to ICAST. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that, man. I
doesn't
always
need to
look
go.
forward to that 5 p.m. appointment, if you know what I'm saying. You know?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So
Well, let's talk a little fishing here.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So obviously you had you started off with a great year of fishing, and
Well, you can't start off any better.
can't
Technically, yes.
started off fantastic, and
Potential was there to run the table at that point.
absolutely. So that was really exciting to watch that. So congratulations on that win.
Thank you.
Down
Thank you.
there.
Yep.
That was a tough, different type of tournament, and it seemed like you were fishing some really different stuff there.
It is. Florida is a unique place to fish. We always go with the tournaments in the worst time of year to fish Florida, when it's the coldest or close to when it's the coldest. But it's really, really hit or miss that time of year. It could be really good if you get like a week or so of good weather and a whole ton of fish move up to spawn, and then it's like the best week of the year. Or it could be kind of like we had at the St. John's, where it was cold, it kind of warmed up a little bit, and then it got kind of cold again. So it's just it's real fickle that time of year, and really all the times that I have fished down in Florida really helped me with that wind and being able to adapt over the 4 days of the event, because we had cold weather for like 2.5 weeks before that St. John's tournament. Even practice was cold. I mean, my hands were just all chopped up from the cold and during practice, and during the tournament it warmed up considerably, but it wasn't, it wasn't Florida warm, but it warmed up considerably. And during practice I got on a nice bite and Rodman Reservoir, which is a deeper reservoir, for Florida standards, and got on a little deeper bite there. I told one of the media guys that practiced with me on the second day, Shay Baker, I said, Shay was like, dude, I think you're going to do really good in this tournament, because I was kind of calling my shots where the fish were going to be. And I told him, I said, I'm excited, but it's going to change. And he said, what do you mean? I said, this is going to last like 1, maybe 2 days of the tournament, and it's going to be done. And then I'm going to have to figure out another way to catch them. And he was like, are you sure? I said, yep. I said, it's going to get warm. These fish they're going to move up. And I mean, like 2 AT, that's exactly, it made me sound really smart. But it's just experiments of having been burnt before. So that I knew that's what was going to happen. And luckily I got a little lucky on the first day, caught an 8-pounder, and then just, had five good ones to have that 28 pounds, give me a good little lead to start the Derby. And then I was able to just kind of adapt and execute really well the rest of the event. Ended up winning by about a pound.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I watched that I guess it was a photo array or whatever, the practice day you had with Shay, and you were on that offshore wood. Yep. And your electronics played, and
yes,
it was like, that was like a prime example of like fish staging and getting ready to move up, and it never happens that way, but it did for you, man.
It sure did. It sure did. It was pretty wild. And the funny thing is that I told Shay, because he let me look at all the pictures before he submitted them to Bass, and the 2 biggest ones that I caught in practice, I didn't let him put. I was like, nah, dude, it's going to look like I just murdered them. And I was like, let's. He's like, no, he's like, no, I agree. So I was like, let's leave these ones off, and leave these ones off, and then we'll just take these ones. And he said, okay, cool. So we did that and let it go. And I was like, man, just let it go, because a lot of people just get bent all out of shape about, oh, you can't show this and this and that and the other. I'm like, dude, everybody's doing the same crap. It's fine, whatever. So it's it all worked out.
What'd you catch that 8-pounder on? Was that a chatterbait fish, or was that one of your worm fish?
And that was a worm fish. It was on one of the color samples of the new project we got coming out later next month. It's going to be, I'll kind of tell you guys, we'll give all your peeps the skinny on it. It's a collaboration effort with RoboWorm. They're going to be making this worm for missile baits. It's going to be in a missile baits bag, but it's going to be made by RoboWorm, and it's my own design. It's a Robo material, but it's a little different shape because I wanted it to function a little bit different than kind of anything they have. And all of the colors are colors that I designed. They're Robo, technology colors, but they're different than anything that they have. So they're we made them our own. We have this, and the worm's called the Magic Worm. It's going to be 6 inches long, so that'll be coming out later in May. And I'm excited about it. I've caught
breaking news right there, man. That's awesome, because we got a few of those.
Well, we actually took all of our color samples and locked them in our safe with our money.
Yeah, we were. When
it becomes legal to talk about this, we going fishing.
Yeah,
yeah.
They're like, don't say anything about this. Just keep it under your hat. But you're checking them out.
I didn't want to kind of get too much buzz before like May, but once we get through the spawn, that thing is going to be. I think that thing is going to be on fire as far as fishing it. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see. It's been, the dealers have had a really good response overall with it, and some of the distributors have really gotten behind it. I think it's going to be a successful project, and like I said, I've already caught a ton of fish on it in the last probably 3 weeks since we've gotten the actual production baits in.
Yeah.
Well, I recommend that the Tackle Shop Live viewers make room in their worm storage compartments for some of these magic worms. And when the boss here gives us the green light to talk about it, of course we'll do a whole segment on it on Tackle Shop
absolutely.
Live. Because
we'll show
it's
everything.
pretty groovy looking.
We'll come back in May. Yeah,
we're ready to rock and roll with this thing. So that's big news. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about before we get into this technique of shad spawn fishing, was your tournament last week.
Yes,
and that beast, the beast, what we will now call the beast,
the Giants,
the 9-3.
Yes.
So like that tournament was not an easy tournament.
It was not. It was not. It was hard to catch keepers.
Grinder, man.
It was hard. It's hard to they had a 15-inch size limit there on Chickamauga, and most of the Tennessee River, like Gunnersville, it's the same deal. But catching keepers that week was really tough. I think it was like the week before, or the week that we were there. The water started to rise because it stays at winter pool. It comes up about 4 or 5 feet to summer pool. Most of the fish wait until that water comes up in order to spawn. So it's like these fish I feel like they've got arthritis. Like they just don't want to be there. They are waiting for that water to get up so that they can spawn, and they're all plump and fat, and they're cranky, and they just don't want to bite real good. And there are a lot of fish slapping at baits and stuff like that. It's consistent across the board. So it was tough to even get a limit. I never caught a limit in practice. I never caught a limit in the tournament of keepers. So that second day I was fishing down this little, short bluff is what I call them. Not the big tall ones, but a little short bluff. Now I'm fishing down through there with the mini flip, and this is the actual bait that I caught the 9-3 on.
Wow.
And I flipped it over there. It's just a bruiser, 1/2 ounce mini flip with a super bug colored mini D chunk on it.
You know how we feel about that color.
I flipped it over there. I rewatched the video today. Miles was editing the tournament today, and he said, "Hey, I got the 9-pounder," and so I went in there and rewatched it again, and it gave me chills again because when I pitched over there and I lifted up and I said, "Oh, there's a bite," I reeled down, and when I set the hook, it didn't move at first. And my partner, he was from Georgia, and he's really funny. He sat there, and you could hear him go, "That's a good one." before it jumped, I set the hook, and he goes, "That's a good one." And sure enough, it jumped, and I'm like, "Oh God, it's a giant! It's a giant!" So it jumped around like 3 or 4 times, and ended up lipping it and getting it in the boat and went crazy. So it was pretty awesome. I thought there was a chance that it was going to be big fish, but the day before, Pat Schlapper had already caught a 10-5. So I was like, probably not going to be big fish, even though it's a massive fish and it gave me a ton of Angler of the Year points. Probably not going to be big fish, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, the jig, the jig played in that tournament. I mean, there was a couple top finishers that. I mean, the chatterbait seemed like played the best, but the jig, played big time. Just anything from a compact like yours to a regular.
Yeah, I threw the damn paint off of a chatterbait head. And I never had a keeper bite on it in practice or the tournament.
Well, apparently 3/4 of the top 10 did. So
yes,
I'm just saying.
I know. I know.
That's amazing.
I want to check that chatterbait.
That happens to me all the time.
Chatterbait game a little bit.
Happens to me all the time.
Hey, I got a key question for you, John, on this 9-3. See, I make notes and I prepare myself for these events because I forget stuff.
Right.
What rod and reel combo do you fish that jig on? Because you need to have the right kind of rod to handle a 9-3.
Yes. When I'm pitching and flipping it into cover, like I was doing there, I was fishing it on a Cashin Icon 7.6 flipping rod, the medium heavy rod. That rod, it gives you enough flexibility in the tip to be able to cast it very accurately.
Mm-hmm.
But when you lay back on it, you can put serious wood on those fish. That rod was doubled over when I was fighting that big old girl down there in Tennessee. And then I have that on a high-speed Daiwa Tatula 100. It's an 8-to-1 high-speed, and then a 20-pound Sunline shooter, and no problems there.
That's interesting. What is it about the shooter that you prefer over the FC sniper?
So the shooter is really the line that I use for anything worming, flipping, pitching, like that. It's a little more. It's the premium. It's the most premium fluorocarbon that they make, and the diameter and the pliability, flexibility is more like a Berkeley XT versus XL, and the FC Sniper with the Sunline is a little bit smaller diameter. It's a very supple line. It's very supple. It's very flexible. So it casts really, really well. So anything that I'm casting far or reaction baits, like spinner baits, crank baits, chatter baits, that kind of stuff, even finesse leaders, I'm using FC Sniper for that. So that's kind of like the 1-2 punch. And you know, shooter's expensive, dude. I mean,
it is.
I was paying for it for like 3 years before I was ever getting it. And it lasts a long time on your reel. Like you don't have to replace it all the time.
That's true.
The line that I caught the 9.3 on, I had it on there for 3 tournaments. I mean, this is the 3rd tournament that I had that 20-pound test on.
Yeah.
And you know, so it's durable and it lasts a good amount of time.
So what's different about that jig than a lot of jigs out there? What I mean, explain that jig to us. What is it all about?
So Mike and Ellie and I, we collaborated on this jig, and one of the key features on it is this really small neck, is what I call it, or foot, whatever you want to call it, on the hook eye. The hook eye is a 60-degree bend, but it's a really short hook eye. Most of the, like, I wish I had a naked jig hook and I could show you.
Yeah.
It, from the hook shank to where it turns up to the hook eye, it's real short. It's just that's all there is. There's not any kind of a length there. And what that does is it changes the balance and it changes the pull point for the jig. So when you pull on this jig and set the hook, you've got a bigger bite because you're not having the hook eye impede. So you can see, like, my whole finger can go under that hook point. Your gap is huge. That 9.3 that I hit, when I hit her, dude, this thing, it crossed her eyes. It went right between, like, in the roof of her mouth. I had to get the pliers to get it out.
Wow.
That thing just dug in there. It's got such a big bite, but that same pull point, being that it's close to the base of the shaft, when you pull it through cover, it doesn't want to roll because you're pulling it from the center, you know, closer to the center point of where the weight is. So as it comes through the cover, it's not trying to roll like a lot of the Arky style jigs that have the weight that's up the shaft.
Right.
Those jigs, when you put them in cover, they want to roll, and once they roll, they start hanging cover. I used to, when I started fishing, that was, like, you know, the most common type of jig out there. I never flipped with a jig because you hang the crap out of it in bushes or laydowns or whatever. But man, you can slip this bad boy in and out of laydowns and bushes and all kind of stuff, and it just goes right in and comes right out. It's pretty wild. And that's Ike and Ellie put me onto that whole idea and that concept, and that's the reason that the jig is the way that it is.
Is that a special brand of hook or anything?
It's a VMC style hook.
Yeah, okay. VMC.
Gamakatsu essentially made this hook initially, and that's kind of what we based it off of. But with his association with VMC, and VMC was very accommodating. They made the actual. We changed the hook diameter just a touch, and we made it exactly like Mike wanted. And that's kind of where we went with it. And VMC is a great company to deal with. Gamakatsu is a great company to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, Gamakatsu's steel and some of their quality is just out of this world. I mean, that's what I catch. I mean, outside of a mini flip, I probably catch 99% of my fish on a Gamakatsu hook. But
absolutely,
VMC is a great company. A lot of good people there.
Yeah,
and they're
putting a nice product out there. They're putting a really good product. Yeah, they're shipping well. They're shipping well too.
Yeah, they ship well too. Yay!
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point.
So, John, we just noticed on the heavy hitters tournament that we watched, particularly the first few days, there was a lot of a shad spawn going on.
Okay.
And, we attempted to break down a shad spawn last year, with our limited knowledge of it. But obviously you travel in the country, you're seeing shad spawns on top of shad spawns.
Yeah.
So I noticed their water temperatures, kind of jumped up and those shad started spawning. So can you kind of, break it down for us? What should we look for? How do we know when to start looking and what,
temperatures and what's it all
what
about?
should we look for?
Most places, and I think the shad spawn is definitely more of a deal in the South than it is in the North, because of like in Alabama, Texas, South Carolina, even North Carolina, and into Virginia, the predominant bait fish are threadfin shad, and threadfin shad are the little small guys. The gizzards will do it too. The gizzards will do it too, but the threadfins are the ones that really get up there and really get after it. Now, alewives are what we have a ton of here at Smith Mountain Lake, and you have more alewives up your way, so it does still occur. But those fish, those bait fish, they spawn at night, and once it gets dark, it takes them a couple hours before they really start to spawn good. And then they'll spawn from, like 10, 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, all the way until sunrise. And then during sunrise, that first 20 or 30 minutes, you can still catch a lot of those bass that are up there just gorging on those shad that are up against the rocks or up against the floating docks or whatever they can find those little shad to spawn against. They get up there and they get to rubbing on them and do this fish. I mean, it's like a dinner plate, and they got them pinned against the riprap or against the rock or against the docks or whatever they're spawning against, the concrete pillars, any of that kind of stuff. They'll just pin them up against it and gorge them. So, I mean, I love throwing a spinner bait, swim bait. You can even do little wake baits and catch them really good during the shad spawn. Swim jigs.
Yeah, baby.
Swim jigs are really good.
I brought mine to this party.
They're really good during the shad spawn. But usually it is like a first 20 or 30 minutes of light situation, and then it tapers off real fast. If you get lucky and have like some real misting rain or like a real heavy overcast, it'll extend for 45 minutes or an hour after that first light. But then it's going to go away. Even if it's light raining, whatever, it's going to go away. Once the sunlight gets high enough, the shad move off the bank, they get back out, and I swear the bass take a break. Yeah, I think they're tired from eating all night, and they just take a break and they move out and they don't do anything. And there's always a lull after that shad spawn bite for me, fishing wise. But the good thing is the shad spawn usually correlates right about the same time that the bass are spawning. Like there's a definite correlation between the two. I just think it happens to be a coincidence of water temperature. But as it seems to be popular to say now, I'm not a biologist, but it's that's what I would guess is the situation. Is it's a water temperature thing, and the shad spawn in like around here is getting ready to start anytime, like mid-April, and it goes hard until probably early June, and then it really tapers off. And so like in Texas, it usually starts in Texas in like March or late March, early April. This is a little bit late, but they've had some really cold and jacked up weather down there.
Yeah, they did.
Like most of the country. So I guess the shad spawn is kicking off down there, and it'll last about a month till probably like the end of May. Middle to the end of May is kind of when it'll last down in most like East Texas lakes. So that kind of tapers off. And then what happens as far as like the lakes go, your offshore structure in those lakes that have a real good shad spawn don't really get all that good. Like some fish will move out right after the spawn, but once the shad spawn is really over, that's when the fish really kind of move out offshore in bigger groups, and that's when the bigger fish will move offshore is after that shad spawn's over.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
that's interesting because up here in our neck of the woods, the reservoirs that we fish that are just chock full of gizzards, you know, they actually spawn, if the conditions are favorable, they actually spawn multiple times per summer. And that that first spawn is like later May and into June. And then after that time frame, you know, when we start getting into our July tournaments, that's when that shallow bite goes away and we have to go offshore. So it's interesting, from Texas to Virginia to here. It's like a month, you know?
Yep.
So
Month to month to month.
John, let me ask you, so this is something you obviously have to practice for every time you go to a new lake. You have to get up in the morning, and what do you do? Just go run a bunch of rock spots, or you know, especially in a lake you don't even really know. How do you approach it for a guy that never did this before and is going to go out in about 2 weeks up here and going to go looking for this? I mean, what are they doing?
You got some, like, there's some key hot spots like marinas. Marinas are hot spots for shad spawn. Riprap banks are hot spots for shad spawn. But all of these are best if they're close to deep water. So if you might have a marina or a riprap bank, but if it's nothing but like 3 foot of water around it, that's not going to be as good a shad spawn bite as one that has deeper water close by. Because when those shad move off the bank, they want to move out there to safety in that deep water. So those areas that have deeper water close by seem to be better for the shad spawn. So you can, I mean, like riprap on bridges, it's a no-brainer. I don't care how many people are fishing it, and they're like, "Oh, it's community area, dude." You're gonna smash. Somebody's gonna smash them over there at daylight. Might as well be you,
right?
But if you can find little stretches of riprap that are a little more inconspicuous, obviously they're better and not going to get hit as much. But new fish are going to move in there every night as those fish are spawning at night. But before we, I don't want to say this before we move on. There's a couple things that can kill the shad spawn bite. Heavy rain at night, like heavy overnight rain. They don't like a lot of turbulence. The shad don't like a lot of turbulence on the water. So a big heavy rain or like thunderstorms right before daylight, you can forget about it. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be off. It's gonna be way off, that shad spawn bite. And then also, if you have a bunch of wind at night, you might not have rain, but if you have a bunch of wind, that can hurt it as well.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to look for.
Yeah.
In the next couple months.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, for all you guys that are tuning in right now, we are talking with the John Cruz, the Cruz missile. John stopping in, telling us and feeding us all his information. We're picking it out of his brain. There's a lot of great listeners here, John, that are saying hi. You got a lot of fans. You got a lot of fans here on Tackle Shop Live. But John, Dale Fogel, Eric Howell, Russell Fuller, Sean Laverty, Andre Albermez, and St. Crest from over on YouTube, and Sammy from over on YouTube.
St. Crest says he loves the background.
Yeah,
over your shoulder.
Great view.
Yeah, man, that's behind my house. That's why we bought this house. It's beautiful.
That's the bomb right there.
Yep. Bruce Millard thinks you're a genius. He's from over there on YouTube, which we
sometimes
do
I do. Sometimes I
do. So we have a lot of Troy Wink. He says hi.
Cool. What's up, dude?
And also we got behind the camera, and I forgot to introduce him when we first got going.
Cameraman Nick.
We got cameraman Nick, and he met you at the Classic, I think. No,
yes,
Classic.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank you, John.
Yeah,
I mean, I walked up to you. You were signing autographs and all that, and I said, "Hey, John, can you give us a little tip there at SFT?" And I'll tell you what, John did not miss a note. He got right into it, and I really do appreciate that a lot. And so do your fans and things.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you a question that was just way off the topic. Most of us fish tournaments. Most of the viewers here fish tournaments, but none of our areas are being shown on TV. How does that affect you know, you just won that tournament. How does that affect you maybe next time you go down there? Do you still look at those areas, or do you kind of go, well, you know, that might be on TV, I'm going to go somewhere else? How does that
That's
work?
funny you say that. I have a philosophy about fishing the same body of water consecutive years, and I totally despise fishing the same places again, and I refuse to fish the same places the first day of practice. So like if I do well in a tournament, even if I get like just a check, like I finished 30th, and we go back there the same time the next year, I will not fish the first day of practice anywhere where I fished the day before, because all you're going to do the 12 hours I'm driving down to Florida is think about, man, I caught him right there, and I caught him on that one dock, and then it was on that one lay down, and then I caught one off those lily pads, and then you're going to go back the first day of practice, and you're going to try that, and it's not going to be the same, and then you're like, oh shoot, you know, like now what am I going to do? Because I was expecting to just duplicate what I did the year before. So I have fallen into that trap over the years, and I refuse to do it. And I was joking with some people after the St. John's. I'm like, damn, we've been there so many times. I fished so many places. Finally, for the first time in 20 years, I fished Rodman in a tournament, and it worked out great. So now I'm going to have to go the other direction, because I have never fished a tournament day north of Palatka, like towards Jacksonville. And
few do.
There's 50 miles. Well, Paul Mueller won it there when I finished second 2 years ago. So there's definitely good fish up that way. And I said, well, damn, if we go back, I might have to go that way and just make it all new again. And then just, you know, go. I mean, I'm dead serious about that. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. I'm not worried about other people seeing where I was fishing. I don't care about that. I just care about like trying to duplicate what you've done. And I mean, everybody falls into that trap of like, you know, going to an area and, you know, catching one off this dock and catching one off that dock, and you come back the next weekend or 3 days later in the tournament, and you throw under that dock and you don't get a bite, and then you throw under the next dock and you don't get a bite, and then your confidence is gone, because you're like, oh, they're not here anymore, or they're not going to bite my bait, or what am I doing? It's a big trap.
You need the Men in Black pen.
Right. Or no, you just don't fish those places. You fish like 5, 6, 8 docks before you get to the 2 docks that you caught their fish on. Yeah. So maybe, and if you catch a fish on one of these docks, then you're like, oh, well, damn, maybe this dock's better than the ones I caught bit on. You, and then you fish the other ones. You're like, well, I don't know where they're going to be now. You know, you just, I just think it helps you so much to fish new water each day that you fish a tournament.
Awesome, John. Thank you.
It's hard to argue with that.
It is. It is hard to argue with that. And we all get into that. We all got, we talk about that all the time in the shop here. You know, you can't have that spot mentality. You know, you just can't do it, because you know, every day, we always say every day you have to start out with a clean slate and figure out what the pattern is going to be. But, you know, you just can't go out there and fish the same spots all the time. It just, you know, it just doesn't work. So that's good information. That's great information.
Fish the conditions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Current.
So absolutely. Fish the moment. That's it. Absolutely. And we learn all this stuff from watching you guys, and then we go out and practice it, and we talk about it, and we do it on the water ourselves. So that's why this is so important for us, and we appreciate all your information, because, you know, we all take it to heart, and we have some of the best customers and some of the best people who are eager to learn.
Hardcore.
And they're hardcore, and they want to learn, and they take it to heart. So, you know, we joke around and stuff, but we're serious about it. And we gather this information for you guys, and we suck it in, and we're sponges, baby. So this is all good stuff. But while we're talking about jigs, and I think it's time to talk about this jig that you just came out with.
Especially with the Shad spawn.
This
and the
thing,
effectiveness of a swim jig.
But this freaking thing, I'm telling you right now.
Well, we need to know about the jig. We need to know about how we should fish this jig.
Yep.
You know, if you can kind of encapsulate all that for us.
Sure.
Why do we want this smaller jig versus a big jig?
Yeah.
I'll give you this. I gave you the skinny on it. So there's a couple. We designed this jig around this 3/0 VMC 30-degree bend jig hook. And that was a big part of I mean, I sent Ike all kind of hooks before he was like, this is the one. And he wanted one that had the right diameter wire and it was the right size, not too big, not too small. We settled on that. Then he told me one of his requirements was it needed to have a flat bottom. It needed to have a flat bottom. And then we both agreed that it needed to have big eyes. We both think that on a swim jig, that bite occurs up off the bottom. It occurs in the middle of the water column, and you need to give them something to focus on when they're going to bite it. And so that big 3D eye was another requirement. And then so it was up to me to work with the designers of or not the designer, but the
manufacturers,
the guys working in the CAD. We had it done in 3D with CAD. So they had to design this in CAD before we made the masters to be able to get the molds made. So we had to get all that done, and then we got to make sure that the jig, the weed guard angle was just right. And Mike is very, very adamant about weed guard angle, and I think we absolutely got this one perfect. I can always like, dude, that is absolutely the most money weed guard angle, and dude, that thing comes through cover amazing. Hookups are great. So that was kind of where we went with it.
You trim that weed guard when you fish it?
I don't touch it. I don't touch it.
Okay.
I think it's just perfect because it does not go past the barb,
right?
But it fully protects the point,
right?
And that's kind of what we wanted. So it really came together. We have the 5/16, the 3/16, and the 7/16. Me personally, I'm like, man, why do we need all these damn sizes?
Yeah. And
Ike was adamant that we needed all 3 sizes. And I said, okay, all right, it's your deal, man. I'll do it. That's fine. So we did it. And now that I've fished with it, I'm really happy that we did all 3 sizes, because you can fish that 3/16 over top of real shallow grass, way in the back of pockets, all that kind of stuff. And you don't have to burn the piss out of it to keep it up high. You can throw it out. You can throw it out there and just kind of reel it and keep it up in that top 6-8 inches of water, keep it right under the surface. And man, they will just absolutely wolf it. And especially on tidal waters, that is huge. But then in the 5/16 is probably the most versatile. You can fish the 5/16 from about 6-8 inches deep to about 1.5 feet. And that's most of where you're going to fish a swim jig, is that depth range. But then the 7/16 really comes in handy when you're trying to fish those little bit deeper grass lines. You want to get that jig down. You want to keep some speed going with it. And you want to get that jig down so you can tick that grass and then pop it off and then trigger those bites. That's where that 7/16 comes in. And I had not fished a 7/16 ounce swim jig all that much until we had these prototypes. We've had them for a little over a year until we got all the manufacturing done and could get them everything out to the world. But so I've had them for a little over a year, and I love that 7/16 for fishing open water grass, like places where guys are throwing rattle traps and throwing chatterbaits and stuff like that. Do that 7/16, you just slow it down a little bit, let it get down, and then you can start speeding it up, hit that grass, pop it, and you can just catch them like crazy. It's cool. I'm really glad we did all 3 sizes.
I love the overall size of it, the compactness of it, I guess, a little bit. You guys were going after that also, a little bit more compact. And
we put the same skirt that we have on the mini flip. This is the mini flip jig, and then this is the mini swim jig. It's the exact same skirt that's on both jigs, same size and everything. So we're using it's the same framework, the same size. And so they're cousins. They're like, I don't know, twins, cousins or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, and they both fit with that mini D-chunk perfect. But like Ike and Ellie, he uses the Jigger Craw, and that's a really good little trailer for it. That's kind of his go-to. He's won multiple MLF events on the mini flip with that little Jigger Craw. It's a good little swim jig trailer too. So whichever one people are comfortable with, man.
I think
Got
I
the
think
jig
your
for you.
trailer, your trailer is, we love it. We love that trailer. Perfect size.
Yes,
That
I'm very
thing
proud
is-
of it.
I love the way it gives you the bulk in the body, and then but it's not overwhelming. You know, yeah.
Yeah,
The colors are
we-
spectacular.
We tried to match up all the jig colors, so I mean, like we've got the bone jig with the bone mini
Yeah,
D chunk,
That's
and
a unicorn.
I've never
That's a
seen
unicorn.
that before. Bone.
yeah, I mean,
You don't see that.
yeah, a lot of like slightly stained water with that shad spawn. I mean, that's what I would want to go to, and I had to talk Iconelli into this bone color. He was not feeling it. Once we got the jigs and he saw that it's got a gold eye, like the pearl white one has the silver eye.
Yeah.
They have a different, he's like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was going to have this different look.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this new look. I love this
Yeah.
bone. So he's now like all in, like behind it. He loves it.
Well, and another interesting point on that swim jig, like when I first saw it last year at the ICAST show, we are on the Susquehanna River, which is one of the greatest smallmouth rivers ever. And we throw a swim jig a good bit. But, the big 5/0, half 3/8 and half ounce traditional big 5/0 largemouth swim jigs, it's just too big of a hook for you miss a lot of smallies.
Right.
Because the hook's too big. I know that sounds kind of weird.
No, there's a lot of baits, including a jig, that you don't want too big of a hook, especially for smallmouth and spots.
And this 3/0 hook right here.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, full disclosure, we haven't been able to swim jig because it doesn't work good in 38-degree water when it's snowing. But we're hoping to swim jig this weekend and give that jig a try, because the main jigs that we've been swim jigging with have smaller hooks on them and lighter wire, because we're not fishing heavy powered rods. We're fishing medium heavy powered rods, 15-pound fluorocarbon, the lighter wire hook. So this, this swim jig fits a very wide range.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. Most people, no matter even if guys are fishing the bigger 5/0 swim jigs, most people fish too heavy of a rod for a swim jig. They're using flipping sticks, and they're like, I want like a triple extra heavy. Like, no, dude. You want a medium heavy rod for a swim jig. You want something that's got some give to it. This is from trial and error, dude. I've caught hundreds and hundreds of fish on a swim jig, and I've lost a lot of fish on a swim jig. And the correlation is that whenever I would, even with a stiff rod, if you like, you can't make yourself not set the hook on a damn, when one comes up and toilet bowl flushes it, you have a hard time not setting the hook. So if you were to let that fish bite it, and then you just keep reeling with a heavier rod, you'll catch like 99.9% of them. They will not come off. So you can't really do that. So if you're going to lean back into them and kind of crack into them, you've got to have a rod with a little bit of bend and a little, a little softer power, a little more moderate power, and you will catch almost every single one that bites it.
Yeah. So for everybody listening there, we have all those jigs on sfttackle.com. You can order them, and the trailers can go along with that. Check them out. And get a couple of them. They're different. They're different swim. You're not going to see. You don't see that everywhere. This jig.
And I have a question on the trailer, because I want to circle back around to this shad spawn discussion.
Yep.
Okay. You laid that out. You talked about spinner bait. You talked about wake bait. You talked about whatever, but you also talked about swim jig, which, in a pre-production meeting, we talked about it because we love throwing a swim jig on a shad spawn. What trailer would you start with to dock? Because pretty much you put it in front of them. If you have the right combination, they're going to eat. I mean,
yes,
it's a feeding frenzy. So what trailer do you like to start off on a shad spawn? What kind of trailer? Is it a swim bait? Is it your new mini D flip chunk?
It's the
mini D chunk.
It's the mini D chunk for sure. And a big part of that is the big flat body on it. So once if you thread it on there, now you've got a big flat skipping surface to go along with this flat head. So flat head goes into flat body. that 5/16, you can skip it way up under stuff. So if you go to one of those marinas, or if you go to some area with riprap and maybe you've got some overhanging limbs, you can skip that bad boy way back into where you can't put a swim bait, a normal swim bait. You can't put a spinner bait. You can't put a wake bait. You can't put most any other baits other than that swim jig. You can put it way back in there. And I mean, and a lot of them do. As soon as you start cranking it, they smash it, and it's game on.
Got a question here from a fella. It goes back to the rods. George Ashbridge is asking, what do you think about throwing them on a glass rod?
Now the only problem with the glass rod is that you're probably not going to be able to cast it accurately enough. I think a glass rod would probably be okay if it's open water, or if you're just fishing, things like, areas that you don't have to really be precise with your casting. If you want to be precise with your casting, you can really only do that with a graphite rod.
Do you fish?
And if you want to skip cast, I don't think you can do it accurately with the glass rod.
Do you fish your chatterbaits on a glass rod? Are you one of those guys? Are you a graphite?
No,
guy?
I'm graphite across the board. I just think you have so much feel with it. I've caught, early in my career, I caught plenty of fish on a glass rod. You give up a lot of feel. And now they've figured out ways to make the graphite softer and more, it's not parabolic is not the right word. I've used that for years. And
moderate.
One of our new hires, Alex, who you've met at the ICAST shoot, he's a physics major, and he's like, dude, parabolic is the wrong term. And he explained it to me. I was like, okay, I'll try to stop using the power.
Moderate fast.
It is a more moderate action is the proper term.
Right.
Well, you actually you're a cash on pro, and
we just designed it. I just came out with a new swim jig rod.
Well, your chatterbait rod is, I mean, we are rod analyzers here, and we talk about chatterbait rods, and we talk about, we have this ongoing battle between glass and graphite, and your chatterbait rod specifically is one of the, it's in the top 3 or 4. Like there's 1A, 1B, 1C kind of a thing.
Yes.
Like that other rod companies that are watching the show tonight that want to build a chatterbait rod should buy the Cashin and copy it.
Yeah. It was cool. Michael Neal actually was the one that worked with Cashin to get that when he was still with Cashin. He worked with him to get that thing dialed in exactly for what he wanted. If I'm casting to targets like shorter range, I think that's probably the best one ever. If I'm going to go to more open water, fishing a chatterbait, that my new swim jig rod, I think that's my preference for.
How long is that
chatterbait.
How what's the length on that?
7.3.
7.3. Okay.
Yep. Well, we just got the email on that John Cruz signature edition swim jig rod. Just like literally 2 days ago. So we're gonna have to expand the Cashin rod rack a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Killing me,
actually,
man.
there was 2 rods they brought out. There was your swim jig rod, and then the other one, which escapes my mind right now. But it's late. There's only so much room in there to begin with.
Right.
Okay, so the shad spawn, you broke it down. The trailer, you're definitely going with the twin, the mini, the flip. You like the flipping legs on that.
I do.
15 fluoro.
And the reason for the twin legs for the majority of the time is that there's 2 different styles of swim jig fishing. Northern and southern is kind of the way I divide it up. The northern is more of a cast and reel, and the southern is throw it and act like your rod's having a damn convulsion.
Alabama shake.
Yeah.
The Alabama shake. And that jig's going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. And the twin action on like a mini D-chunk is perfect for that. But it also does just fine kicking on a steady reel. So, but my personal style for swim jig is a combination of both. I do both. I'll just reel it on certain areas, and then I'll kill it, and then I'll rip it, and then I'll shake it past cover, and then I'll start reeling it again. So I really kind of mix it up, because I fished with good swim jig fishermen from down south and good swim jig fishermen from up north, and it's just interesting to see how those guys work the baits differently, and they both catch a ton of fish with it.
That Alabama shake is a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh, it does. If you don't like
you need to
do
do
calisthenics,
I have been in
like
the
a week
back of the
before?
boat and gotten my ass handed to me by guys that are doing the shake, and you could throw most anything else you want to, you ain't getting bit. They want that shake is the trigger under certain circumstances, and you can't hardly get a bite behind them. It's crazy.
Well, you know, we just watched them on the Texas tournament here.
They were shaking the hell out of that rock.
They were swim jigging and they were shaking, and I mean,
unreal.
it was like,
I couldn't believe it.
It was a workout, bro.
I really watched that. You know, we had a little bit of time here. I just watched that guy.
Yeah.
Who was that? Lucas or
Justin
Lucas. He shakes the hell out
Well,
of that
the
rock.
interesting thing is he was putting the twin tail trailer on, like John's talking about, and he was flat bottom, and he was skipping this thing like a scientist, man.
Yeah, he was
Like
casting.
a scientist.
His casting is freaking spot on.
Now you have a pro staffer who is we're a great fan of, Brian Schmidt.
Yeah.
And
Swim jig master.
Yeah, I mean,
unbelievable.
we've actually had him on the show. He's been up here. We are huge Brian Schmidt fans. We carry pounds and pounds of his swim jigs with us.
Yeah.
And he likes the twin tail setup. He does the crawl father, and he does the twin turbo.
Yeah.
He's like in a little swim bait.
Yeah. Yep. Little swim bait. He's a little more of the northern than he is the southern. But he
probably
does
because of tidal water.
He does have a few trigger tricks, but I'll let him tell them. I'm not going to tell his tricks.
Yeah.
Well, he told a few of them, but he's not going to tell them all.
Yeah.
You know, he's in 16th place with 17 pounds 5 ounces today.
Yes, I gave him the strong arm emoji after today.
I don't know now. This Alex Weatherall, who me and Mike know quite well, 25.9. He's probably still finding potatoes in his boat. We loaded his boat down with potatoes one night. Brad goes back to
he started it.
He started it.
Is his nickname Tater now?
Well, we bought like 20 pounds of raw potatoes and loaded his boat pretty good for him. Brad Levner, 22.4. Joey Murphy, 22.3. John Sokup, Oklahoma boy.
Yeah.
21.9. TJ Milton, 2011. Ike, 23.
Ike is right there.
There's 6 of them at 20. And then we got to shout out our guy, GDP. You know, he's our boy. 17.7. And then your guy, Schmidt, 17.5. You know, Brian's been throwing a swim jig today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
As long as his boat was running and his arms weren't broken, he was
right.
Absolutely. And by the way, I meant to mention this earlier. He almost caused you some issues at the St. John's.
Who is that?
Brian.
What do you mean?
Well, he almost won the damn tournament there for a minute.
Committee.
He rolled up in there the first thing that third morning, I think it was, and cracked that 8-pounder and just was going to work on that rattle bait.
Oh, yeah.
St. John's?
Yeah. Oh, no, that was a Harris chain. That was Harris.
Oh, was it Harris chain?
That was Harris. He did well. Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was taking that Aruku shad doing work.
He was getting it done.
He was doing work. Yes.
Yep. We got a question here from Carl Walker. He's wondering if you put a rattle in your trailers at all when fishing the swim jig.
I don't on a swim jig. I know I have experimented with it early on. I know some of those original Alabama guys would put some different things in there, or put the little collar that you can slide up on there that has like the 2 danglies on it that have the rattles in there. Those are pretty loud and pretty good. I just think that the swim jig bite is almost an exclusive visual situation. Yeah. And that's kind of where I keep my focus, is making sure that visual action is totally dialed in.
Yeah, absolutely.
John, you know, I told you we were going to keep you on for 40 minutes. It's been an hour plus.
It's getting dark behind you.
It is getting dark.
I want to take a couple more minutes of your time to go
Okay.
to a cause that I know is near and dear to your heart.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is Autism Awareness Month. I know you're just like really involved. Can you point our listeners to a organization, because we all want to do something, but
Yes.
you, in this day and age, you don't know where to go, where you trust somebody with your donations.
Mhm.
So here,
Can you point
here's-
us to a organization that we can donate money to?
Sure. So there's a bunch of different autism organizations on a national scale, but really the work and the treatment that's given to families, it's given to individuals that are affected, it's done at the local level. All that kind of stuff is done at the local level. I did a giveaway earlier this week on Facebook, and the gist of the giveaway was, in order to enter the contest for the giveaway, all you had to do was Google wherever there was an autism center close to you, put the name and link of that autism center, and that entered you into the contest. So that would be my challenge to anybody that's listening that wants to get involved or wants to know more about it. Google autism center, in whatever area that you live. Like if you live in you guys area, you type the town there in Pennsylvania, type it in. I'll bet you there's one closer or multiple ones closer than you realize. And really what kind of made this impact to me was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, we were doing a campaign, and I think we were doing wristbands and some other stuff that year. And we did a little Autism Angler of the Month deal. And Jordan Lee came up to me, or actually he texted me. He said, "Hey, I want to do something. I want to donate some money. Where do you want me to donate?" And I Googled Coleman, Alabama Autism Center, and this place came up, and I sent him the link. And I said, "Is this close to you?" He said, "This is like 3 miles from where I live, and I never knew it was there."
Wow.
And I said,
Wow.
"That's where you can put your donation, in your backyard." And
Yeah.
he was like, he sent me another day. He's like, "This is unbelievable. I was like, "Dude, that's the whole reason that I really like talking about it."
That's great. Yeah.
Is because all of this stuff is closer than people realize. And
Yeah.
those are the places that really need the donations. They need the help. And I mean, I've been to our local autism center multiple times. I've seen the kids, I've seen the teachers and the assistants they're like angels. It is just really touching and emotional to see and spend the day with them. It's really cool.
Wow.
Well, John,
I've got some auction items up on eBay.
We're going
right
to do that
now.
too.
Yeah, I've got some up there on eBay. I'm trickling those out on social media, so just keep an eye out for them. But I've got 3 different items up there right now, and 2 of them are custom painted baits, and then one of them is a rod that was given to me by the owner of Six Skill. I've never met this dude in my life, and he just walked up to me at the Classic last year and handed me this rod. It's a $400 rod. He just handed it to me, and he said, I don't want to tell his story, but somebody that's that's very close to him is autistic, and he takes them fishing, and that's their favorite rod, and he wanted me to have it. I said, "Well, do you mind if I auction it off?" He said, "Do whatever you want to with it, man." I said, I think we can generate some good money with it. So that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic.
Well, that's wonderful. The Tackle Shop Live crew here at SFT is going to pull up a couple bucks and make a donation. We're going to Google our local center.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
That's a great idea.
We're going to put that out on our social media.
Yeah.
Because we had no idea where to go.
Yeah.
We were just told where to go.
Ask your listeners, because I mean, some of your listeners and people watching that live closer to you guys, they might know, and they might be able to help you out and put some, if there might be multiple ones, or, like somebody might know somebody that works at one that's verified and quality.
Right.
But the audiences are great people to lean on for that stuff.
Well, that's what we're going to do, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome, John. My nephew, he has autism, and I'm just happy with the guy that has your platform, uses it for such good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
It is. It's great.
That's
great.
exactly right. Yeah, we have a great platform, and we need to use it for some good things, other than just trying to peddle
Yeah.
different things that we like to fish
Absolutely.
with, or peddle
Yeah.
things that we
Yeah.
that we talk about fishing, and other things we try to make other people's lives better too.
Well, and it definitely happens. I mean, a year or so ago, we had a listener of ours who's a longtime great customer of the store. Quietly, would always keep money on account here to help youth out, and to help maybe we see somebody come in, maybe a single mom brings their kid in to go fishing. He's like, you know who it is, just pick up the tab. And he always keeps money on account. Christmas, he buys gift cards for us to give out. Well, we
That's
shared
awesome.
that. We kept his name private. We shared his story. Our back room is full of rods, reels, baits, tackle boxes that people bring in who also want to remain anonymous. I'm talking like 30, 40 rods, reels.
That's awesome.
And we disperse them to the various
people as we see them come in,
and the youth clubs, the youth bass
great.
clubs, and the kids and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so it's people paying it forward, and we want to do the same thing with your autism awareness, because you're behind it. You're a face to us.
Well, congratulations, John, on all you do, and congratulations on a great company, Missile Baits, and congratulations on your win this year.
10 years in business.
10 years in business. Congratulations to you on that. We really appreciate having you on the show. And
thanks for jumping on Tackle Shop Live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and we'll have to do it again when we have some new stuff to talk about. But I appreciate you guys, loyalty and business over the years, and friendship as well. So thank you guys.
Absolutely. Well, we will. I'm sure we'll bump into you somewhere. And you say you're not going to ICAST this year?
We're going to work on that.
Yeah. So we'll see you around. Yeah, we will see you around, brother. And thanks so much again. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks,
John.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. Well, there you have it. The great John Cruz, the Cruz Missile. What a great interview with him. What a great time with him. What great information.
Well, that Shad
from
spawn
that guy.
thing.
That's Shad spawn.
A, it's timely.
Yeah.
B, it's a lot of mystery around the Shad spawn.
Yeah, everybody just struggles with that.
It's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of like, what up, what if? So now we have some guidelines. We have a plan of attack. Well, I would really like to thank John for sharing that information.
Absolutely. And for everybody who just is kind of chiming in, George, I just want to say that this information is all library. There's libraries that you can get this from. You can go to Spotify or any of your favorite podcast places, and you can download this show and put it on your phone and listen to it when you're driving and kind of rehash all this information. It's all there. It's all there. I try to put a heading on what the topic is. And, you can just download it and listen to it while you're driving around because this stuff, this is all great information.
What was the heading on last week's topic? Short shorts?
Biffle shorty shorts. No, it was a swimworm last week. So we talked about that. And so I got that up there.
And Mike, they can also go on YouTube and it'll be archived on there. And we'll put a special thumbnail, like the picture of the topic, and we'll put John Cruz on there or something like that. That way they know.
And you can just watch it again.
Right.
Yep.
Or you can just kind of zip ahead to that Shad spawn area in case you missed something. You can listen to that segment if you don't have a full hour or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, you can definitely go through it. And as always, all these products and most of the products that Missile makes, we do stock here in the shop here. And also on sfttackle.com. You can go there, check them out. We push baits because we want you to fish something different. And when we saw this swim jig, I'm not kidding you, it's different than anything I've ever seen. And I really wanted to get into the design aspect, and we didn't have a lot of time, but the design aspect and working with Ike, hey, say what you want about Ike. You know what I'm saying? But
he's a tackle.
This freaking guy is a tackle
junkie
expert. I absolutely respect him so much for his ability to break down and not let other things cloud his mind and copy things. I mean, if you look at some of the stuff that these guys are doing, it's all different.
It's original.
It's all original. It's all different. It's very, very, very awesome what they're
It's
doing.
funny you guys say that. Remember a couple of months ago, we did a show of Aaron Martins and we talked about how he changed the game.
Well, he did.
But so did Ike. He comes out with these
Absolutely.
rigs that like nobody would throw. Then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Not only that, his bait designs.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's so much Me Too in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and the fishing industry is certainly not unlike every other industry that's out there. I mean, there's so much copycat, Me Too. There's actually companies that will bring a product to market before the company that invented it
Yeah.
because their timeline takes longer.
Yeah.
I remember a particular paint job, and I'm not saying any names because it doesn't matter. I'm just saying there was a particular paint job that became very popular several years ago. And the gentleman who created it had a very good friend of his that was in his office. And the gentleman who created it had, you know, various versions of it laying on his desk. And it's a very unique paint job. And his friend worked for a rival tackle company, albeit a little smaller company. And they brought that color to market.
He swiped one off the table.
I don't know.
Yeah, he did. He swiped one off the table.
They brought that color to market before his friend's company who developed it could, because they're a bigger, slower moving process. But the gentleman who it was stolen from called his friend up and said the next time he saw him, they weren't going to be friends anymore.
I was going to say, I guess
You
they're
know?
not friends anymore.
So, you know, that is what happens in every industry in the world. And certainly the fishing industry is no different. And there's some things where, you know, you're going to copy. I mean, you can only make a hoodie so many ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but anyways,
great stuff. Check it out
missile
online.
Baits,
Yep.
pretty unique. Ike's designs are pretty.
We forgot to ask John about.
I'll tell you what, if you're working as like he was probably like, there was probably a couple times when he was sending all his prototypes. He's like, good God.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, he probably. I guarantee you, tweak this, tweak that.
but the end results, I mean, look at the
it's
mini
great.
flip.
It's great. Yeah.
The end result.
Oh, the
So,
mini flip. Great.
listen,
jig.
let's take a quick second, maybe hit some music.
Well,
let's maybe talk about something else for a minute.
Absolutely. But I wanted to say one thing lastly on this. We forgot to ask him about Ish, his buddy Ish.
Well, that would have been a tough one today.
Yeah.
Because Ish had a rough day on a MLF. He probably
But their friendship and how, because those guys are tight.
Oh.
And they've been friends for many years.
All three of them are.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Very tight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that was just a great interview. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. The information he delved out is just great. So, but let's talk some tackle. What do you think?
Well, I'm all about it.
Tackle talk coming up.
Well, I got a new reel.
Oh, no.
Now, you really can't get too many of these. I got a couple. I got a few. I got a few more coming in. But this is the new Tranks, which is a Shimano reel, 150. I'd like to compare it with a Tranks 200, but they're all sold out.
Yeah, can't get them.
I'd like to compare it with a Tranks 300, but they're all sold out. So this is basically a little bit bigger than, say, a Corrado 200K, but not much.
I don't think it's that much bigger. It's a 200 size, so how can
Not much.
How can it be bigger?
A little more spool capacity,
Maybe,
but not much bigger. So this is bringing the Tranks
power.
and spool capacity to a more bass fishing friendly size. You know, the Tranks 400 is one of the most epic musky reels of all time. It's about the only reel we saltwater fish with.
Yeah.
The Tranks 300 is, you know, legendary saltwater big bait reel. The Tranks 200, some of your big like offshore 10XD crankbait guys won't crank with anything else. And it's because of the gearing. It's because it holds up to reeling in big, giant 1 pound musky baits and, you know, deep dropping saltwater and all that torque and pressure on the reel over prolonged periods of time. They hold up to that. Their gearing is substantial. And, you know, the guy that doesn't want that big of a reel but wants a little more capacity.
Their drags are bigger in it, and then too, isn't it?
It's a cross carbon drag. It generates 13 pounds of drag force, which will lock it. So it's not a massive drag, but it's ample.
No, it's a high tech drag system.
And because of the Tranks saltwater
resistance
popularity,
mm-hmm.
it's saltwater proof.
Yep.
It has the Core Protect, and what's interesting about Core Protect is a Shimano fancy word for the paint. So the paint repels the water and doesn't allow it to go into places.
Mm-hmm. All the nooks and crannies, you know what I mean?
Like a English McMuffin.
That's the worst thing about it, you know. So you got that paint working for you. It's pretty cool technology.
You got an aluminum body. You got CI4 side plates. But where it differs from its other Tranks brothers is it has the Infinity SVS
casting system.
Yeah, let me open this thing up here. Of the Corrado family.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the Infinity SVS, with the really fine tune. You can move this surface right here, this wear surface in and out for infinite braking adjustments.
Yeah.
So the Tranks 150 comes in a limited models. Comes in a 6:3-1, but only in right hand. Okay. The 6:3-1's only right hand. And the 6:3-1 is a 25 inches of line per crank. And yes, I did look at my notes.
Yeah.
It comes in a 7:2-1, which will be right and left. That is the only ratio for left hand.
Yeah.
28 inches of line per crank. And then it also comes in an 8:2-1, which is the X speed. 32 inches, right hand only. And you'll find on sfttackle.com or in the shop here, we do have limited quantities. Okay, so, but anyways, we're excited about it. We haven't talked about a new, fresh Shimano baitcaster with you for a while. We've been on some of the other brands, and we're excited about this reel. So we wanted to bring that to you. So that's one of our fresh products for this week. And then, Tackle Talk, we got to talk about some lures, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And we're not like big box crazy, but 13 Fishing there's a portion of 13 Fishing. There's a lot of their product line that is hardcore.
Yeah.
There's a lot of their product line that's, big box combos. It's all nice stuff. But their lure line, their baits are freaking sweet.
Well, they're unique. They've always come out with unique stuff.
VMC hooks.
Yep.
This is the Jabber Jaw which is a concept of what if we took a crankbait and made it operate like a hybrid chatterbait. So
Yeah.
the jaw
Moves
metal.
up and down.
It's metal.
Yep.
And it, as you're reeling the bait, the jaw's moving,
Cracking,
cracking the
popping,
whip.
cracking and popping. Jabber.
Now the original jabber jaw.
Oh, how much is the Tranks? 150.
209.
209.99. Mark.
So the original jabber jaw is this guy here. This is the shallower version. And of course, it was immensely popular. They brought out a bunch of new colors. This year's Jabberjaw, which is just now hitting the streets in good quantities, is the deeper version. Okay. And then another bait of theirs that's pretty hot and has a bunch of new colors is the Loco jerkbait. And the Loco is comes in two sizes. It comes in a standard, like 3 to 5 foot Loco, which is that guy there. Tons of really cool colors. And then it comes in a deeper.
Yeah, show the lip a little better. You're not really. That's the shallow diver.
3 to 5.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah.
Tons of colors. And then this is the deeper version, the 6 to 9.
7 to 9, I think it is.
7 to 9.
Yeah. Now listen.
But here's what I like about this particular color is the name.
Yeah.
This is regurgitated shad. Yeah, I mean, it's a good looking bait, but
You're not even hitting at the high point on that bait, man.
well, no, I'm just kind of going overviews.
Yeah. The high point of that bait is if you take it and shake it.
It Loco?
It's crazy loud, man. Yeah. It's crazy loud.
It's like some bowl of rice.
I mean,
Krispies up
you know,
here.
you go around and start shaking jerk baits, you know what I'm saying, for rattles. You don't hear that kind of noise out of a jerk bait. So it's different. It's different.
Yeah, it is different.
It's
And it's a nice bait. And the finishes.
The finishes and colors are fantastic.
The colors on the Jabberjaws and the Locos. 13 Fishing is majority owned by Normark, who owns Rapala.
Yeah.
So
that just happened last year.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for that company because they were always cash poor and they couldn't really do a lot of things they wanted to do. So this was going to allow them to.
And their rod designers are pretty talented guys. Slick Jimmy, who runs the joint, comes from a rod designing background, which is very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good guy.
And they have some interesting baits. And they're backed up by some big money. And here at SFT, we try to carry a wide variety. Obviously, we can't carry everything, but these baits make the cut.
They're very nice.
These baits make the cut. So we wanted to share that with you. $13.99, I think is roughly.
George, question.
Yeah.
On those two jerk baits, are they suspending jerk baits or are they slow sinking?
Suspending.
Okay.
Yep. They're suspending, weight transfer, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
The whole 9 yards. So we wanted to share that with you. And that's all I have for you on Tackle Talk because we don't want to get too bogged down on that.
Well, me and George once again decided to go fishing this past Sunday. And of course, the weather turned to crap, like it always does, George, when we go fishing.
That's why if you look in the back seat of my truck, there's 3 different levels of sim suits back there.
Yeah.
And on Sunday, I went with the full-blown insulated boots, wool socks, gloves, beanie hat.
Yeah.
And didn't regret any of it, especially when the snow was pretty much when I had to yell to the back deck and see if you were still back there.
Yeah.
During the whiteout.
And it was one of those days, we were going to go to the Potomac and the winds were supposed to howl like 35 miles an hour. So,
and they did.
So we were like, well, we could go down there and fish Mattawoman, you know what I mean? Or get one of these creeks and fish a creek or something. And maybe if the tide's right or wind's blowing, possibly you can run a little bit. But we were like, well, let's just stay around home. But the river, our river was up over the bank,
10
foot, rolling, ripping like a son of a gun. And we were like, man, well, we only got a couple creeks we can fish. So we went to this one area where we had a couple of creeks to fish, and turns out that most of them were blowed out from the rain.
Well, we found a little spot.
Yeah, so we found this little spot. We go up in there and we start banging around, and
We caught a few fish.
and of course I'm this is the year of the crankbait for me, so I'm
Glad you didn't come down.
yeah, right. So I'm banging around the crankbait. I'm banging around some different colors. George is throwing something. I even saw George break out a friggin' hair jig on the 11.5-foot hair jig rod from St. Croix.
I also broke out the world's greatest cold water crankbait.
Yep, he broke out a crankbait and threw that
to
around.
no avail.
And we quickly realized, the water temperature was like freezing in the creek. It just dropped out real bad, and the bite and then the wind started freaking blowing. And of course, the front of that creek, you had a little bit of bank, so. But that's not where the fish were. The best part of this creek's like the middle section of this creek
where the wind was.
And we go just a little bit farther, and here's this beautiful bank. And I always like fishing there because you can look straight out off this bank. The water's right up to the top of the bank, and you look straight out through there, and it's this beautiful farmland and this great big long valley that runs way up through there, and it's gorgeous mountains. Way up there. It's one of them long, slow planer freaking.
It's cool.
Valleys.
It's cool.
Well, guess what direction the wind was blowing?
Straight down that sucker.
Straight down that son of a gun. So the creek runs this way, right?
Well, at one point, you couldn't see too far up the valley.
Yeah, no, it was white. It was white out. But the creek runs this way, and I had to put the boat into the wind, and we worked up the bank like this. But the best fishing on that particular area is in the back of the boat.
That's when I volunteered to fish from the back.
Yeah, and I was running a trolling motor, so we were going. But it was, and now George looks up through. He goes, "What's that? What's going on up in there?" I said, "Man, I don't know." I said, "That's snow." And here comes this big snow squall down this valley. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was really something. But
we had a good time, man.
We had a good time. I broke out. We had a jig rigged up from one of our other trips. And I busted out this jig, and I kind of committed to it for a little bit, and I popped a good one with that.
Biggest fish of the day. That was the Z-Man finesse
jig with
which we like with that boar hog
with a little boar hogs on the back. That thing was beautiful, and I popped a nice one on that, and then I went to work in that bait, and George was messing around with some other stuff, and then I think you busted out a tube. Then
I had to go with the old school tube on the SFT tube head.
Yep, and it was our color, green, pumpkin, purple, and then
little spike it or not,
little spike
or
it.
Not.
You didn't need to do the spike it that particular day because it wasn't the creek wasn't stained too bad. And then he popped a couple, and we ended up catching 9.
Well, we had to put a few fish in the boat.
We caught
for our misery.
Yeah, we caught 9 fish, and we missed it. We missed a lot because that bite was real soft and subtle, and we had them stung for a second and kind of rolled them. But it was fun. We had a really good time. And we never saw anybody. Nobody fishing.
There was no one
anywhere. Nowhere. I mean, there was one guy when he came back in fishing the bank.
We drove past like every boat ramp there is, and there was no one.
Well, you guys were hardcore.
Oh yeah.
We were desperate to go fishing.
We were
jonesing.
We are. Every week we're like desperate to go. So
well, now Mike, I got a question for you. So we know George bundled up, and he was just up, in the back, thinking this is just great. Did you dress right?
I did. I did. The only thing I couldn't find in the morning when I woke up and I was in a panic was my insulated underwear. I got Under Armour.
Shouldn't have to find that in April.
I know. I got Under Armour that I love. I put that stuff on, and I can go out in like subarctic temperatures.
You climb mountains.
And I'm ripping the whole house apart. My wife's yelling at me from the bedroom. Like, what are you doing? Come on, you're waking me up. And it's her day off. I'm. Where's my insulated underwear? I couldn't find them suckers. So that was I was scared about that, but I put on that. Honestly, no, be honest. I just got a pair of that Sim CX rain gear, and it's
stuff.
It's a little bit thicker. You know what I mean? It's not insulated. It's not like hot, but it's a little bit thicker that it cuts that wind. That cuts that wind and really busts that wind off you nice. And that saved the day. But I still was chilly. No matter what I did, I had a nice jacket on. That was so much wind coming straight out at you. It was cold.
Nick, the bottom line is, man, the gear, makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really does.
But good for you guys for being out there. But good for you guys for being out there because everybody else is sitting at home looking at their weather channel going, in 2 days, it's going to be 80 degrees.
Yeah.
Well,
in 2 days, guess what we're doing?
We're
We're
gonna be
working.
But good for you
so
guys.
we went fishing. We ran the boat. We caught some fish. We had some fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But guess what, guys? Before we shut down for the night, I have some random news.
Oh, I got something too.
I want to talk about Mr. Eugene Cronley of Brandon, Mississippi.
Oh, Eugene Cronley.
Oh, Eugene just baited up his hook with a full skipjack herring, which is basically the equivalent of a giant gizzard shad, last week. Exactly 7 days ago, and he caught a 131-pound blue cat.
Good God.
Is that a new record?
Oh, it's a new record, all right. The old record for Mississippi was 90-something.
And what was his?
131.
Oh, man.
And then I also have another bit of news that I think has a deep meaning to it. Philosophical, even. Johnny Morris of Bass Pro and Cabela's fame. His net worth jumped up to $6.3 billion, number 424 on the Forbes all-time richest current living men list. Up from last year at this time, he was at 4.1 billion and he was occupying position number 705. So he jumped up 2.2 billion and he climbed up 175 spots. And I just think that
Unbelievable.
it just goes to prove he's got enough cake, and you should shop with us a little more.
That's right. That is amazing.
We're working on our first hundo, if you know what I mean.
My man's got enough cake. You know what I'm saying?
You know, the other thing that you just said that was incredible. You said he was number 424.
24.
Yeah.
That's like amazing to me. Like,
Yeah.
holy smokes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's happening in this
Yeah.
country. The divide of billionaires to mere peons is widening.
It's growing. I got a little bit of information for you.
What do you got?
Alexis Virvilito.
Yeah, that doesn't
Okay.
sound right.
It's
That doesn't
probably
sound
a hacked name really bad. I'm sorry, Alexis.
right. Can I
and-
see how it's spelled?
And Taylor Baycott. Two young women, young girls. I don't know how you would say it, but
Well, what? I mean, how old are they?
one's in 8th grade, and one's in I think in 9th grade.
So is that
As a
considered
freshman.
Like that's considered like almost high school. That's high school, middle school, high school.
Going into high school. Yeah,
Yeah.
right in there.
Young ladies.
So what they do?
They went out and fished the Louisiana State Championship tournament, high school states championship tournament.
Oh,
And they cracked a bag, 5-fish bag for 30 pounds, 30 and a half pounds, 5-fish
Oh.
bag. And they won the high school championship.
That is impressive.
They
30
made
pounds.
they made history with
The
that
dirty
win.
30.
They made history with that win in that it's the first girls duo team to ever win a tournament like that. First ever. So congratulations to Alexis and Taylor on their Louisiana State high school championship
Yeah.
win there. And not only that, but 30.5 pounds.
The dirty 30.
All three.
She hammered them.
All three of those news is pretty amazing.
spectacular.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's earth shattering.
Pretty spectacular.
You're not getting
So
this kind of reporting on CSNBC. I can tell you that much.
Where's the fact checkers?
yeah,
Just
right. All right. So
Well, let's wrap this.
what do you got, Nick?
Let's wrap this baby up, boys, and put her to bed.
I just got, hey, everybody have a great holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Easter to everybody. Hope you have a great spiritual Sunday, and
I'm a Rivertarian, so I'm heading off to the Susquehanna for Easter.
I knew that was coming.
I got an Easter egg hunt on about a 30-mile stretch, and I got a full tank of gas.
Well, you know, some of us are married with kids and family and
I'm
stuff.
just saying, I'm going to church.
And you know what? You know what it is? It's the year of George. He said, "I'm gonna do what I want, when I want, and where I want, and screw everybody else."
And you know what? I decided I have an amendment to the year of George. If I like the way it goes, I'm going to do it again next year.
Well, you know, George, you say you're going out in the river.
I am
on Sunday.
I am.
Is there anything that in particular you're looking to?
Well, I'm looking at the fact that we just had a big warm up. We have clearing up, improving, perfect water conditions. We have fish that are moving up to spawn. And just in time for my day off, we have a nice cold front coming in on Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going power fishing, baby.
Yeah, and don't forget, guys, the buy-in starts tomorrow for the Susquehanna Fishing Tackle SummerSlam tournament. It's $250 in product from Shimano, G Loomis, Jackal, or Power Pro. You can pick either. You can mix and match anything you want. Get in on this tournament. It's a great time. Go online right now and check out our information on it. We have lots of information on it. You can download an application. You can come in the shop and order if you're local. You can order online, and you can send those applications in completed and get it to us.
Hold up. I just got a text here. Oh. Don't hang up yet, fellas. We got some breaking news up in our house.
Uh-oh.
Just got a text from Seth Fighter.
Ah.
He's in, baby.
Ah.
Seth Fighter's coming to Tackle Shop Live.
The Fighter Man, we nailed him down. We got him coming.
Got him right here.
We're going to work on some dates with him, I take it?
Yeah. Probably sooner than later, the next couple of weeks. He's got a couple things coming up. We got a couple things coming up. It's going to be quick. It's going to go down fast, and we're going to let you all know about it.
Yep, absolutely.
But the Amazing Fighter Man is next up.
Ah, that's going to be a great time, too.
Take us home, Mikey.
All right. Till next time, everybody. Thanks for watching Tackle Shop Live.
A sunny day, right there you took my breath away. A young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down low and I am blue, soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you.